Hey everyone, welcome to my kitchen. It is Thursday, August 1st, and tonight we are making creamy chicken rigatoni. And so we're going to go ahead and get started here. If you are watching either the live broadcast or you are watching the replay and you are in Connie Lloyd's virtual party, please make sure you comment below because that's going to get you some extra tickets into her party door prize. And I really want to just make sure that I know to do that for you. So welcome back to my kitchen for those of you who've watched me before. And for those of you who haven't, my name is Mary Beth Knowles. I have been a consultant with the Pampered Chef for a very long time. And in fact, I need to remember to tell you my Connie Lloyd story about Pampered Chef when we get to the end. So hang on, because you don't want to miss that if you're part of Connie's party. So again, we're making creamy chicken rigatoni. This is a wonderful recipe for an easy weeknight dinner. It does use pasta, but of course you could always substitute like rice noodles or zoodles if you like zucchini noodles. You know, if you're eating gluten-free, there are things you could easily substitute and still have a delicious recipe to feed your family on a weeknight night like tonight. Tonight is a perfect example. It's really hot here. It's humid in my house. We don't have central air, and I have an air conditioner going in the next room, but it takes a while to get in here, and I literally just turned it on a little bit ago. So I am a hot mess express personally, but so this is a great recipe because it's all done on the stovetop. There's no turning on the oven and heating up my kitchen. So we are starting with some cubed chicken meat. Now the recipe calls for chicken thighs, and I mistakenly thought chicken breast. So you're going to learn tonight, if you've never watched me cook before, that it is okay to make substitutions most of the time. And so rather than, have to thaw something completely different, I just am using chicken breast. But again, you can use either. The one thing I will tell you about chicken thighs is they have a higher fat content. And when you're making a recipe like this one, if you overcook it a little bit, it's not going to be as big of a deal as when you overcook chicken breast, which can get really dried out. So the secret to combat that problem is to salt and pepper your meat and let it sit for a solid 10-15 minutes if you can. Now, I realize a lot of us are really busy moms, and you're like, salt and let it sit for 15 minutes? I don't even have 15 minutes to make dinner, right? So if you can do it ahead of time, you can literally do it the night before. If you're into meal prep work, this is something you certainly do a couple of days ahead of time, and then just put it in a container in the fridge. And in fact, I've got my little meal prep containers right here underneath my island. And if you like to meal prep, or if that's something you'd like to learn how to do, oh my gosh, these things are bomb. I use them all the time. My fridge is full of them. I actually have 2 sets in my fridge at all times, full of prepped food. So this is something you could easily do to make your weeknight assembly go even more quickly. So I've got the chicken chopped up. I've got it on one of our flexible cutting mats, and I'm just going to set it over here to the side. You can leave your raw chicken out. I mean, I wouldn't leave it for 2 hours, but certainly 15 minutes, half hour is not going to hurt anything, okay? Especially when you season it like that, because the seasoning also helps as a bacteria deferrent. That's not really the word I want, but you get the idea, okay? All right, so now we need to get some veggies ready. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to chop up an onion. So I have this massive onion because we were gifted like 2 ginormous bags of onions a couple weeks ago. And so here we are. Not the onion I would normally choose, but it gives me a great opportunity to show you how to chop onions. And we have a lot of different ways we can do this. So the most classic Pampered Chef way to chop an onion is in the very popular food chopper. So if you really hate chopping onions, or if you just want simple, easy food prep, or if knives like this scare you, then this is going to be your best friend. And let me just show you how it works in there. So you will still need a knife to at least cut it into a manageable piece. Okay, and take the peel off, which is honestly the part that makes me the most crazy, is that darn peel. I save my scraps in a bag that goes in the freezer to make chicken broth. or any other kind of stock that my husband actually is in charge of baking that at our house. And onion, celery, scraps, and carrot scraps all go into that bag. So for the food chopper, we're just going to kind of chunk it down a little bit, like so. It's hard to see that white on white, but there it is in the cup. Okay, you can actually chop right on a cutting board if it's a nice polypropylene board like this one. Do not use this on hardwood though. Do not use it on marble or stone or anything like that. So either the cap that comes with it or a good, it's called polypropylene cutting board, which won't dull this. It doesn't dull your knives the way those other things do. Take the knife off the cutting board so it doesn't make noise. And here is our chopped onion. So that's one way to do it. Second way to do it, if you want to do bigger batches, is in the manual food processor, okay? And so this will actually hold about 6 times what this holds. So it's great for doing a lot. It's also great for people who don't like to whack things. So true story, first time my daughter-in-law was visiting, I think it was before they were married, I'm sure it was, I set her to work chopping nuts for Christmas cookies using that food chopper, and she was still in college. She'd never had a really bad day at the office yet, and so she was sitting there going like boop boop boop, and which is not chopping anything. I was like, Emily, you have to get mad at it. So she's like, oh, okay. Doesn't chop that way. You have to whack it, right? So I handed this thing to her. This was definitely more up her speed because you don't have to have had a bad day or just, want to take out whatever stress you need with this, because you simply do this, okay? So not nearly, there's no whacking involved. It's just pushing, okay? And so now we have our chopped onions this way. This is all dishwasher safe. Well, the bowl and the blade, this is washed by hand. All of this is dishwasher safe. Comes apart for really easy cleaning. And I'll show you that here in a minute. The third way to chop your onion is with a knife. And I'm going to just show you this with the other half of this onion, because this is a nice chopping skill my husband taught me that I have found to be really, really helpful. So you're going to take off one end, and I actually heard once too that if you cut off you leave the root end on. So I always look for where stuff's growing out there. If you leave the root end on, it's less likely to bother your eyes. I don't know if that's true, but I heard that once, and I try to go by that, and it seems to help. So, all right. So with this size onion, there's 2 different ways you can do this, okay? So I personally would slice like this, okay? And then just kind of do a chop around and get my chopped onions this way. And I like doing it this way. This drives my husband crazy. So the way he likes to do it, which really is pretty effective, is you take your knife and you cut down towards that root end, like so. And again, I apologize, this is like white on white, and I don't have a good solution for that. All my cutting boards are white. But now we've cut kind of all these slices towards that root, and now when we slice, they're already chopped, just like that, okay? So what I'll be doing with these is putting them in one of those prep containers I just showed you a minute ago. And those prep containers actually come with a prep cutting board where you slide everything right into that. And I don't know why I didn't think to just use that one tonight. You probably would have seen the onions a little better too. So these are just going to go in this container, like so. And I'm going to pop the lid on and stick it in the fridge. And now I have chopped onions all ready for whatever I'm making for dinner over the weekend. Okay, just like that. So, for the sake of time, I'm going to keep it that simple. Alrighty, so there's our chopped onion. Just to show you, these are the lids that come with these containers, and they can be vented or not. We have onions, we don't want them vented. They also come with dividers and strainers. So dividers are in the way back. The strainer, these plates sit on the bottom. So like if I had grapes in here or blueberries or something that I've washed and I don't want them sitting in water, I would put this on in the base before I put the food in, and it keeps it nice and dry. So your berries last longer and things like that. I cannot talk enough about those guys. I love them. Okay, on to the red pepper. So same with the red pepper. We could chop it with any of these choppers, but I want to show you my quick slice because it is hands down one of my absolute favorite tools for making quick work of slicing peppers. Because when you're slicing peppers for things like stir fry or even just a veggie tray, you're cutting those long strips and you're going to just crack up when you see how fast it's done in the quick slice. So now we have pepper strips just like that. How crazy is that, right? So I'm going to do the other one, and then I'm going to show you how to get nice, evenly chopped peppers. So there's our second set of strips, all ready for a veggie tray, a stir fry, whatever you might use them for. To chop them into perfectly little square pieces, we're going to lay them back on the quick slice here, but we're laying them across the grid, or across the, not really a grid. We're laying them crossways, okay? And if I tip that, it's going to all fall on the floor. And now, look at this. I have perfectly diced red pepper, which I'm going to tell you, when you're married to a chef who can do that with a knife, actually I can do it faster with this than he can do it with his knife. But, you know, perfectly diced food is kind of a big deal for people who go to the Culinary Institute, like my husband. And I love that I can do it here in a fraction of the time with the quick slice. Also works fantastic for any fruits and vegetables like cucumbers, zucchini, squash, strawberries, mushrooms, even things like grape tomatoes. You can slice them up real quick. It's got just a whole bunch of these serrated blades built in. I don't know if you can see that very well. And dishwasher safe as well. All right, so there's our red pepper. Let's see, what else do we need to have prepped? Oh, we need a garlic clove, and I may have forgotten to get one out. So let me go grab that. So this is our fresh ground garlic that we just harvested the other day. And it's still got the dirt on it, right? So I'm going to just kind of take it over here, cut off that stem, deal with that later. So, garlic 101. This is a bulb of garlic, and the little bit pieces that come off are called the cloves. You might be thinking, well, that's a duh. You would not believe how many people are nodding their heads going, I had no idea. So if your food has tasted more garlicky than you think it should, or maybe you don't like garlic because you think it tastes too garlicky, it might be that you're using the wrong amount. So this is a ginormous clove of garlic off of this homegrown. Oh my goodness, it's the best. I love homegrown garlic. It's like homegrown tomatoes, homegrown everything. It just, the flavor is so good. So we want this minced. We don't want it pressed. So chopped actually. You could press it, but different ways of cutting your garlic give different results. For this, it's calling for it to be chopped. So we're going to use this little garlic prep tool. It looks like a little mini air fryer. Cracks me up. And it's super easy to use. We're just going to take the pieces out, and we've got, you can see I don't know if you can see that, the grid that's going to push our garlic through, which seems to not have been done very well last time. Hold on a moment. Yes, technical difficulties again. Sorry guys, I should have double checked that before I started. That's just embarrassing. That's like back in the day doing live shows, every once in a blue moon it would happen. I'd be at somebody's house, I'd pull all the things out of my tote bag to start a party, only to discover that they had never been washed, which is like really awkward in someone else's kitchen, right? Can I just borrow your sink and wash my dishes real quick? Yeah, that was always a moment. All right, so we want this garlic peeled, and this little garlic prep tool comes with a garlic peeler. I didn't really need one here, but it's there if you need it. And then we want this guy to go back in to catch the garlic, okay? So literally we're putting the garlic in here. I like to put it with the wide facing out and the narrow facing in towards the hinge, and then we literally just push it through. Chopped garlic. Yeah, I know. It just blows my mind. And then the other side, you can do sliced garlic. So for like, there are certain recipes I definitely like sliced garlic, roasts, things like that. Oh, garlic is the best. Alrighty, so we have that ready. We're gonna need some tomato paste. We're going to need our tomatoes, and we are gonna take another commercial break for that in just a minute. But first, we're gonna move over to the stovetop. So this is where I get real friendly with the camera. Also, one of my lights decided to go out, so I have this like lamp here, and hopefully that's giving us enough light. Let's see here. Nope, let's try it this way. I think that'll work. All right, hopefully y'all can see just fine. Okay, so you see the chicken sitting over there, and we are going to use the most used pan in my kitchen, which is this. It's an 11.5-inch, 5.5-quart fry pan. And this is part of our Brilliance collection. And you'll see it's got this really pretty blue outside nonstick. Both the in and the outside of the pans are nonstick, and they are so durable. So we use this pan several times a week at my house, even though it's just Ken and I. Several times a week, we are using this pan to make dinner. And it's 2 years old at least at this point. I'm losing track. And it looks like new. Look at this. Look at that coating. Absolutely perfect. These pans are dishwasher safe. They will work on all stovetops, including your induction stovetops. And wait till you see how easy they are to clean up. Amazing, amazing, amazing. So we're gonna melt a tablespoon of butter. And I actually have some really exciting news about the induction cookware. I'm sorry, the Brilliance cookware that I'm going to be sharing in Connie's party tonight. And if you're not in Connie's party, it's going to be in the VIP page. So if you're not on my VIP page, you definitely want to make sure you click on the VIP link, which I think is in my bio. But if it's not, I will send it to you because we don't want anyone missing out. Okay, so we've got about a tablespoon of butter. If you don't like to use butter, I'm going to ask what the problem is. Just kidding. You could use, I actually have some avocado oil I've been using that I bought at Costco. I also have my most used, which is the olive oil that is not Evo. So hear me clear, if you've never watched me before, there's different grades of olive oil, and Evo is the highest grade, has the best olive oil flavor, but also has a very low heat point. So if you've used it to cook and you find it smoking, that's why. So what you want to buy is the low grade olive oil, and all that means is that it's from olives that have been pressed multiple times. So it's not as intense, but it has a much higher heat tolerance. So you can use it for your stir fry. I use it for scrambled eggs, any of those things, and it's not going to smoke on your cooktop. So all right, so we have our butter going in here. So I live with a guy we laughingly refer to as Cholesterol Ken. Ken puts butter in everything. Ken made rice for dinner the other night, and he had made rice in this house for a long time. And as soon as I took a bite, I was like, oh, it tasted so much better than the rice I make. I make rice in the pressure cooker, right? Well, the reason his rice tasted so good is that he had all kinds of oil in that rice that I wouldn't normally have added, or butter. I'm not sure which he used, but it was quite delicious. All right, friends. So this needs to cook for 3 to 4 minutes until they are browned. We're not going to cook it through. We're just going to kind of toss it. So while it's cooking, I'm going to run and get the tomato sauce I forgot to grab earlier. Okay, so we're going to stir this a little bit. Literally just cooking it for, like I said, 3 to 4 minutes max, just to get it nice and brown. I'm going to tell you, getting good cookware into our kitchen was such a game changer. When I started the business 30 years ago, the pans I had were the pans my mother had, they were the pans my grandmother had. I didn't really know any, well, no, that's not true. I knew there was better cookware out there, but, I mean, I married a chef, right? But finding it in our price range, and especially finding it after we moved to Corning, was it was just nearly impossible. I mean, you have to remember this was also before the internet was a thing. Actually, true story, Connie Lloyd. I first heard about search engines in your living room on New Year's Eve from Michelle Johnson. How's that? Of course, so many stories I could tell about Connie Lloyd. There's one of them. Okay, so we've got this going, and we're going to take it out of the pan. Let me grab a bowl for that. Just when I thought I had everything together, I didn't. So we're going to just put this chicken in this pan. And again, it's partially cooked, but that's okay. We don't want to cook it all the way right now because we don't want it to be overcooked. All right, put the pan back on the heat, and now we're going to add the onions and the garlic and the green pepper. So we're going to start with the onions. So here are some more fun facts for those of you who are from Connie's party and you're watching this, either live or the demo, or the replay. Connie's mother, Martha, was among the women who sat around with me at a coffee shop all those years ago and talked me into giving Pampered Chef a try. And at the time I thought, well, what could it hurt? I knew I'd been to a party, I'd seen how great the products were, which is, we have so much more now than we did then. But anyway, I was the person afterwards because I'm married to a chef. I remember it was a scraper similar to this one up on the table. And I'm the one afterwards who's like picking all the things up going, oh my goodness, these are like the scrapers my husband has in his kitchen that I can't find for my kitchen. And I was so excited too that, because I had a strategy going to home parties up to that point, and the strategy was find the cheapest thing in the catalog and buy it for my mother for Christmas. That was my strategy because I usually just couldn't justify the price of, cute little things for my house or whatever that I didn't really have the money for. And so here's another fun fact. The last home party I went to before I started Pampered Chef was at Connie's house. It was a lingerie party, and my youngest was like a month old, maybe a little older, but not much. Bad time for me to be at a lingerie party. Not feeling all that good about myself physically, how it is postpartum. And it was kind of an embarrassing night, to say to the least. So several months later, when Martha and other friends of ours suggested I give this a try, sweet Martha offered to host my first show. So we did the party in Connie's living room, and I was a nervous wreck. I'm shaking like a leaf, and especially because the girl who'd done the lingerie party was in the audience, and she was very good at that lingerie stuff. I'm going to tell you right now, she was good. And so I'm kind of a nervous wreck, but I get through the party. They're all very kind. And she says to me that she just quit because the company had undermined all of her efforts by one thing. And so now she had like $5,000 worth of lingerie hanging in her closet. And she's like, what am I going to do with $5,000 worth of lingerie? It's all different sizes. And even if it was all my size, who needs that much lingerie? And I remember looking at my table of my cooking stuff thinking, if I quit tomorrow, this all goes in my kitchen and I am a really happy camper. Well, guys, obviously I didn't quit the next day. It has been a great ride. And I actually, that year, earned my first of many trips. That one was to Disney with the kids. It was so much fun. And as they say, I've forgotten the silly thing I was going to say there. Not the show that must go on. That wasn't it. But anyway, I am so glad. I am so glad I found this. And I've done other things alongside Pampered Chef over the years, um, like raise 3 kids and be the homeroom mom and all that kind of stuff, PTA, all those things. But I've also worked other jobs alongside this here and there over the years. But this one is the best. And none of those other jobs ever sent me on a cruise at the end of the year. So, all right. So we need 2 tablespoons of tomato paste, or Disney for that matter. And so I'm using this little scoop, and you're probably wondering why. It's because I don't want to waste the rest of that tomato paste. So the rest of this I'll be scooping out. This is 2 tablespoons. I'm going to put it in on a cutting mat and stick it in the freezer. And then I just stick it in a baggie, and it just be labeled 2 tablespoons. And next recipe that needs that, I'll just take it out of the freezer. So that's another little trick to just do a little food prep ahead of time. It calls for 1/8 of a teaspoon, of red pepper flakes, and that's like what is left in there. So this is optional. If you're not into spicy or your kids are not into spicy, please feel free to leave out the red pepper. That is very much up to you. So we've got that in, and now we're going to add the crushed tomatoes, the rigatoni, the broth, the cream cheese, and the chicken. So I guess I added the tomato paste a little early, but that's okay. Because honestly, when you saute it like this, it actually gives it some extra toasty flavor, which is pretty yummy. Okay, so let's get the crushed tomatoes going. Y'all, I don't know about in the towns you live in, but I could not find a can of crushed tomatoes, a 15-ounce can, anywhere. So we are going to use half of this one and freeze the other half for another time, because I couldn't find a 15-ounce one. So there we go. Now, let me tell you another one of my best tips. If you go to make this recipe and you realize I don't have any size of crushed tomatoes, and I don't have time to run to the store and buy crushed tomatoes, but I have a can of tomato sauce, or I have a can of diced tomatoes. Just substitute, friends. Don't stress yourself out about this. In fact, you're going to see me substitute something here at the very end, because I was not going to run to the store for this one thing when I have plenty of something similar. Okay, so I just want to give you that encouragement that it's great if you do, but don't make a special trip to the store, because it's just not necessary. So we need 3 cups of low sodium chicken broth, and we make our own at my house, but I don't happen to have any right now. I used it up yesterday trying to make rice like my husband's, no lie. So I always keep this on hand, which is bone broth base. This is different than bouillon, and the big difference, it's even different than better than bouillon, and the big difference is that it does not have all those additives that even better than bouillon has. It's really pure stuff. So it's basically just very concentrated organic bone broth. And it is a fraction of the price of buying the cartons. And because I have an environmental scientist as a daughter, I'm also always looking for ways to be planet friendly. And the little glass jars, in my opinion, are more planet friendly. So we have 3 cups of the bone broth. We have the crushed tomatoes. We have the tomato paste. We're going to add 8 ounces of rigatoni and 3 ounces of cream cheese, and then we're going to put the pasta or the chicken back in. So here's another tip. Don't run to the store and get rigatoni if you have something similar. So what I had in the house, which I bought at Costco, so I have a lot of penny pasta. I have 8 boxes this size. This is a 32-ounce box. 2 pounds of penny pasta. I'm not going to go buy rigatoni when I have all this penny pasta. It's very similar. It's a little different. So like if your Italian grandma is like, never substitute. If it calls for penny, use, if it calls for rigatoni, go buy the rigatoni. Or better yet, she can make you the rigatoni. Um, then, by all means, honor your grandmother. But if that's not the case, you have my permission, absolutely, to just use whatever pasta you have on hand. Macaroni would work fine too. Okay. The only thing I wouldn't substitute is like spaghetti, but any kind of tube or bow tie or any pasta that you cook that takes like 9 to 11 minutes to cook is going to be just fine. All right. It calls for 3 tablespoons of cream cheese. You can see how accurately I'm measuring this because that's how I roll. Sometimes we measure, most of the time we just kind of eyeball it. I knew that was close to 3 tablespoons and I was not going to have just a little bit left over there. So we're mixing that in and bringing this to a boil, adding our chicken, and we're going to put the lid on and it's going to cook for about 13 to 16 minutes, basically until the pasta is done. At that point is when you add 3 cups of baby spinach. I don't have baby spinach, so I'm actually going to use broccoli because I have that. So again, if the recipe calls for something that you don't have and it's like the only thing that you'd have to run to the store for, don't run to the store. Use what you have if you can substitute, okay? If your family isn't going to eat it if you put the baby spinach in it, then leave it out. But I do like recipes like this that have all those different ingredients in them, including it's got your starch, it's got your green leafy vegetables. Kale would be another really good one. Yeah. And it's like a one-pot meal. And even at this stage of our lives, guys, I love a good one-pot dish. So we're going to put the chicken back in. And we're going to put a lid on. Oh, actually, no, we're not going to put the lid on. Cook over medium heat until the pasta is tender and the sauce is thickened, which says 13 to 15 minutes. And then once that's done, we add the greens, we put Parmesan cheese on top, and it's ready to go. This is a 30-minute recipe when you're not demoing it live on Facebook. But I also don't have kids running around my legs, so that might add a little bit of time too. But technically, you should be able to get this done in 30 minutes. And again, there's some prep things you could do, such as cut the chicken up and have it ready, a day or two before, the night before, in the fridge ready to go. Things like that can really cut down how long it takes to get it start and on the table. This is my favorite part because now really I'm hands-free for the next 15 minutes, so I can put together a salad, I can set the table, I can gather the kids, I can, pour the milk, I can feed the dog, I can gather the kids again. You know how that goes, right? How many times do you have to call your children before they actually sit down for dinner, right? So it gives you some time to do that. And then the other thing that's really great about this recipe is going to be the leftovers. The leftovers. My husband and I fight over the leftovers of things like this. So I hope this gives you a great idea. I will post the recipe in the comments below this video. Thank you so much if you've watched live or you've watched the recording. I really appreciate you giving me your attention, and because I know time is like our most precious resource, right? So I hope you found this helpful. Please reach out to me if you have questions. Please join my VIP group if you'd like to get a free recipe every day. One of the things I will tell you about the recipes I post is that there are no ads to scroll through or popping up while you're trying to read the recipe. No ads on our recipes, which is actually one of my second favorite things about our recipes. The first favorite thing is that they are almost always winners, like no risk. This is going to be delicious. So thanks again. Have a great afternoon, evening, morning, whatever time you're watching this, and I'll see you next Thursday. Bye.